We know big government does not have all the answers. We know there's not a program for every problem. We know and we have worked to give the American people a smaller, less bureaucratic government in Washington. And we have to give the American people one that lives within its means. The era of big government is over. From the Boston Commune.
You know, I think it's hilarious that Cori Bush is actually fundraising off of her being called a radical Marxist.
Oh, yeah?
She sent
Radical Marx.
She sent out a fundraising email about a half an hour ago. And she's like using how she was being attacked as a radical Marxist and be like, no, that's actually not a terrible thing. I find that amusing.
Pretty tight.
Tight.
I mean, most of last night was entertaining.
Yeah.
I think my two favorite speakers were that like Cuban guy who was like the oil executive.
The guy from Up.
Yeah, the guy from Up with like the accent
yeah.
crying about Fidel Castro. And then that woman who was like basically shouting the entire time.
Gavin Newsom's ex-wife.
Yeah, I honestly kind of feel like she wasn't really talking about like national politics so much as she was trying to use her speech as like kind of a metaphor for her like unresolved feelings. Seems a little bit like it has something to do with her ex-husband, given, I mean, her husband did like cheat on her with like her campaign managers, the staff.
Okay, well.
That's too bad.
No, she's
well, he's now governor of California, so.
God.
Also, I thought he was gay. Is he not gay? He must not be gay.
Apparently not.
Okay. Gavin Newsom, I guess I just assumed because he was like the mayor of San Francisco or something.
Ooh.
I mean, by that logic, Dianne Feinstein would also be.
Well,
True.
who says she's not? I don't know. I'm from California. I can say these things.
We're all like slowly going mad, but it's okay because the Arctic is on fire.
Exactly.
Bringing that up again. Like I said, the world's on fire. How about
yours?
That's the way we like it, and we will never get bored, unfortunately. That's what it's like for the new generation. They'll never get bored. It'll be a terrible life of misery, but they'll never get bored.
I mean, there is that Chinese
on the
proverb
bright
where you live
side.
in interesting times.
Yes! Never get bored.
He says to the guy with ADHD.
Yeah, I never get bored anyway.
It's kind of drift off.
My favorite speaker last night, though, was Don Jr., of course.
Fucking hilarious.
His incredibly coked out eyes. That man was very much on something last night. Loved it. Love to see it.
It's funny, The Nation actually had an article this morning, and the first sentence of the article was, and I quote, "Cocaine and Donald Trump Jr. started trending at the same exact time last night." Best way to start an article.
He was looking rough.
Even though it's funny, the article actually argues that it wasn't cocaine so much as it was existential dread.
And a lot of cocaine.
Pretty sure it was cocaine.
There's a lot
The
of
great thing about the great thing about cocaine is how your ability to perceive how coked out you look decreases exponentially with the more cocaine that you do.
There was a lot of existential dread as fueled by a ton of cocaine.
I mean, they were all kind of insane in their own ways for the most part. There was that like bone cancer survivor who was like, well, Democrats want you to believe that they think government-run insurance is a right. The right to marijuana, opioids, and I forget what the third one was. Oh, the right to die in dignity.
That was a weird thing, the right to die in dignity. Like that's a bad thing. Like, what the fuck? That was very strange to hear.
Scott, are you eating right now?
I am, and it's good.
What are you eating?
Craig. It's good, Craig.
Tofu and rice and broccoli.
Craig. On tofu, Craig.
Why is Craig a horror movie villain?
Yeah. Why is Craig necessarily the antagonist of this entire...
Craig.
He's the pee-pee
It's like a
man.
horror movie mixed in with like one of those movies where like all the robots take over.
Craig.
Jesse's the robot.
Jesse is Hal.
Most fucking disconnected fucking shit.
You guys want to talk about Bill Clinton?
Yes, actually.
Joe Clinton?
In short, the short version is he sucked. The long version, well, is longer than that. He didn't really waste any time doing terrible things. In his first year in office, he cut $255 billion for Medicare, for example. very hotly contested budget that barely passed Congress. It passed with like 2 or 3 votes to spare in the House. Al Gore had to break the tie in the Senate, and it did a lot of things. It raised taxes on the top federal income rate by 8% to 39%. Garbage. It raised fuel taxes, increased corporate income taxes. It cut $255 billion from Medicare and the military in an effort to balance the budget, because I guess that's what he was obsessed with at the moment for most of his presidency, really.
Wasn't the campaign, wasn't their whole slogan, it's the economy, stupid?
Yeah, basically.
Yeah. What policies did they run on? Were they very very progressive?
He actually kind of ran as a left-wing-ish candidate.
He played his saxophone.
Yeah.
He ran as a cool guy.
He ran as the left-wing guy, which is, it just kind of goes to further that argument. Well, when you run as a centrist, you can't win. But when you run as the progressive guy who wants to give everybody health care, you actually succeed.
It also backs up the point that Jamie Peck made. You could just call communism cool world and people would probably be into it.
Exactly.
Did he run on universal health care?
Yes, he did, actually. And basically...
Fox.
Actually, it's funny. Actually, it's not really funny, but kind of really weird in the sense that history is rhyming. Is he basically ran on what would eventually become Obamacare in 1993? At the time, there were 40 million uninsured, and he ran on basically what would eventually become Obamacare. It was universal. It was everybody would have to. It was they had the exchanges and protected against pre-existing conditions. And it required everybody to enroll in a healthcare plan through individual mandates, and subsidies were going to be given to those who couldn't afford coverage, and users would pick plans offered by regional health alliances, which are basically whoever's offering coverage on the exchange. And yeah, it's basically Obamacare, but obviously Republicans hated it because they actually understand class power, and they have this intense fear of the slippery slope of it's another entitlement. If the workers get health care, then it's going to be we can't fire them anymore. Then it's going to be they want more unions, they want more housing, and it's going to be this slippery slope to eventually we find ourselves in communism. So the Republicans fought it tooth and nail. The Hospital Association infamously fought it pretty aggressively, running a famous ad, a fear-mongering ad called known as Harry and Louise, and this was paid for by the Health Insurance Association of America. And it was basically this middle-aged couple who were kind of freaking out about the idea of the Clinton healthcare plan, and it worked because it never actually got to a vote, despite the fact Democrats controlled both chambers of Congress at the time.
Wasn't Gingrich one of the guys who was really virulently against what Clinton was trying to do with healthcare?
He was virulently opposed to basically everything. So
yeah, Gingrich was in a way one of Clinton's nemesis.
Kind of yes and no, because Clinton did actually, just moving to my next point, Clinton actually was working on a deal with Gingrich in October of 1997 to privatize Social Security and Medicare, actually, in the fall of 1997. And then, fortunately for America, in January of 98, the Monica Lewinsky scandal broke out into the open, and Clinton abandoned that out of his desire to enter political self-preservation mode.
Monica saved us.
Yeah.
Yes. Monica Lewinsky saved Social Security.
She saved your Social Security, you fucking boomers. Give her a fucking break. God.
Yeah. Jeez. Be nice to Monica.
She's done more for this country than any of you.
What's really disturbing, though, is how popular at the time the notion of potentially privatizing Social Security was. Mark Penn, who people know or might know as the Clintons, one of their flunkies, who's been serving them for decades now. He ran a poll in August of 1997 and found that 73% of Democrats in August 1997 favored some form of privatizing Social Security. How far to the right things were at the time.
So it makes sense why they picked Biden and Harris this year.
Exactly.
Wait a second, but what was that a function of? Was that a relic of Bush or Reagan somehow?
Well, I mean, I think the Clinton administration kind of operated within the framework the Overton window framework of the Reagan years of like cutting services, deregulating things, because like Clinton deregulated a ton of shit during his time in office. Like I had to subject myself to like a 20-minute speech he gave about blowing up the welfare system. It was this like sickening, callous, soul-sucking ode to individualism that like honestly like was more psychologically scarring in only 20 minutes than like 4 hours of Republican National Convention coverage.
See, this is what we mean when we say there's no difference between the bourgeois parties. They both talk about capital. They both talk about individualism. They're both about destroying the labor movement. So, hey.
Like in this speech, Clinton literally calls like poor parents like deadbeat parents.
And what did Harris call the parents of truant kids? Also deadbeats. So it's fucking eternal return.
Oh yeah,
it's happening again. Fucking perfect time.
That's what Jesse thinks about that.
The whole thing, that the way that went down was grotesque because like the actual name of the bill that like fundamentally like completely restructured the welfare system, the actual name of the bill is the Personal Responsibility and Work Opportunity Act of 1996.
It's the Personal Responsibility Act. Go on America Online, you find yourself a job. There's a whole new horizon.
That's pretty good.
That up on your modem there.
Clinton was pushing for this bill, and it was passed largely on the backs of Republicans. Because, for example, in the House, 226 Republicans and 30 Democrats voted to push the bill through the House. And 4 Republicans, 165 Democrats, and Bernie Sanders voted against the bill. And it passed 256 to 170.
Was Bernie the only independent at that point?
Yes.
You could really just say for a lot of things like this many Democrats, this many Republicans, and also Bernie Sanders voted.
I also find it kind of like this, like disturbing, like the idea because it has this like echo to like the rhetoric today that is used about COVID, about people like staying home from work, or like Mitch McConnell's like, yeah, we don't want to be paying people enough so they like don't feel they need to go out to work. Because Clinton frequently said in the speech when he was rolling out announcing the bill signing, quote, arguing that, quote, people were trapped in a cycle of poverty and just simply living off of the checks and not working. And the welfare reform bill, it dismantled the program called Aid to Families with Dependent Children, AFDC, which was a program that gave out like cash payments to extremely poor, like working class people, families. Like it was like for like single parents who were like incredibly poor. And so they dismantled that, and which was a federal program. They dismantled that. They replaced it with this thing called TAMF, Temporary Assistance to Needy Families. And what that affected, they also implemented work requirements for the first time. AFDC had been around since like the late 30s.
Testing?
Yes. Aid to Families with Dependent Children was a New Deal program from 1937. And so they replaced it with this thing called Temporary Assistance to Needy Families, in which the welfare program, like the administration of it, was transferred from the federal government to the states, in which the states were put in charge of running their own individual state-by-state welfare systems, basically.
TAMF doesn't exactly roll off the tongue.
Yeah, it doesn't. And so it has a 5-year maximum. So like you could only be on the program for like a maximum of 5 years, and then you're cut off for the rest of your life if you still need it. Tough luck. It implemented work requirements for the first time in a welfare program in this country. And the argument was like, oh, we're going to make people go to work and earn a living, and we want to get as many, Clinton literally was like, we want to get as many people off welfare as possible.
Welfare's more like unwelfare.
Yep. It's like we want to reduce welfare dependency, but we don't really care how fucked you guys are.
How wild is that? You got to work to get welfare. See, when you're working, you get this thing called a wage. And that's the welfare. That's the welfare. And so when you don't have a job, that's when you need the welfare. So, anyways, so.
Makes total sense.
Clinton literally said, like, we want to stop, in this, like, speech he made at, like, the bill signing. Quote, we want to get people to stop collecting welfare checks and get them to start collecting a paycheck.
What? Oh, God. Then start a fucking universal employment program.
Right?
Anyway.
Yeah, I know, right? And it was also insane because at the time they were like heralding, like, oh, they were celebrating like an 11% poverty rate.
And yes, I do see the comedy in yelling at like Bill Clinton from 1992. So,
This was 1996, actually.
anyways, I'm yelling at the past.
He blew up the welfare system like 3 months before he got reelected.
How did that happen? That seems like a horrible time to do that.
Well, it was the 90s. Like everything was shifting to the right. He wanted to make the case of to moderates and conservative. Like, look, I'm just as capable of sticking at the poor people as Republicans are.
Yeah, that's the post-Reagan culture.
It's like I'm just as capable of sticking into the quote-unquote welfare queens as Bob Dole is.
Just because I don't talk about myself in the third person doesn't mean I'm not qualified to make life hell for poor people.
We missed him, Bob Dole. We miss him. Is he dead?
No,
I
I
don't
don't
know.
Fucking Jesus.
I don't
I'm
know.
gonna look this up right now. Bob Dole.
Either way, we miss him. He's a walking corpse. Jesus.
He's 97
Actually-
years old. Holy shit.
What the fuck? Are you serious?
Yep.
Actually, Scott, he's not capable of walking because he was disabled during World War II.
So, okay, but like he
He can.
Wait,
he's
he was-
he's a
he
rolling
walking-
corpse on his
he was
wheelchair.
walking on the campaign. What are you
Was
talking?
he always in a wheelchair?
Yeah.
Even when he
No.
was running?
Not Bob Dole.
Yeah,
What?
he,
No, he was not.
Okay, we need to settle
He
this.
fell off a stage. He was climbing the stairs.
That's definitely not getting hurt in a war.
He might have been hurt. Like, he was.
He
but
was in World
he
War
was not in a
II.
wheelchair until like 10 years ago.
Okay,
He was not in a wheelchair in the 90s.
let's clear this up.
I was alive then. I remember. So
Okay, all
I'm
right.
old. Sorry, guys. Jesus, I'm gonna go think about things a little bit.
I'm gonna go feel some feelings about Bob Dole.
You're talking about foreign policy. Was it bad?
yeah,
How bad was it?
it was mostly about like consisted of him bombing countries indiscriminately, and also there were other things
Yeah.
in domestic policy that he did that we're still dealing with the effects of,
Like what?
Such as
like NAFTA, the crime bill, repealing Glass-Steagall, the Telecommunications Act, which
they
is why we
repealed
have.
that's shut up, Melissa Milano. That's one of the things that the Democrats did is they repealed Glass-Steagall. That's not good. That's the whole reason we're in the fucking like hellscape we're in now.
Yeah, like most Democrats actually voted to repeal Glass-Steagall.
See, they all at the end of the day they all bend the knee to capital. You know.
138 Democrats voted for Glass-Steagall repeal in the House. 69 Democrats voted against. Bernie Sanders voted against it. And interestingly enough, 16 Republicans also voted against Glass-Steagall, but like almost all of them voted for
69
it.
Democrats are nice.
Wake up, people. These banks are too big to fail.
And NAFTA was bullshit too.
Like a lot of Democrats who are still in Congress who actually voted to repeal Glass-Steagall. It's a little unnerving almost.
Like who? Name them. Any from Mass?
Richard Neal, for one.
Aim and shame.
Jim McGovern, who represents like the Worcester area.
Ugh.
Where else?
Someone's familiar. Very familiar.
Jim Clyburn voted for it. It's not
Remind our
surprising.
listeners who he is.
He is the like number 3 Democrat in the House right now. He is the House Majority Whip.
Oh.
He'll whip you.
They never go away. They're fucking demons.
Steny Hoyer voted for it. He is the House Majority Leader. I can't remember which Kennedy it was who was in. I know which
Ted?
Kennedy was. No, because I'm looking at the House vote because like basically it passed in the Senate like along party lines. Which Kennedy
So that would
was-
imply that Ted voted for it then.
Yeah,
Ugh.
probably.
Ugh.
The Senate actually no, the Senate voted 90-8, so basically everybody did.
Democrats.
Patrick Kennedy, I think, was the Kennedy in that House who voted for it.
How many are there? There's fucking
There's too many Kennedys. I
There's a
can't
lot
keep
of-
track of them.
There was a Kennedy in the House who voted for it from Massachusetts.
crawling out of the fucking. They're the deep ones. They come out of the fucking the sea.
They're coming out of the ceiling like orcs in Lord of the Rings.
What has Joe Kennedy III done? What skeletons are in his closet? What have you done, Joe?
We're gonna find out that he like started a blackface party at his private high school or some shit like that.
Yeah, in college. Yeah, no, yeah, probably.
This is only speculation, but I have a feeling. I just have a feeling, guys.
And then the other three big things that he did that we're still stuck with the effects of are obviously NAFTA, which goes without saying is terrible. That's something that most people know about by this point. The crime bill,
What does it
which
stand for?
the North American Free Trade Agreement.
Mm-hmm. When you hear those like weirdo fucking reactionary YouTubers, NAFTA would make America all one country. Like, no, but
No.
in terms of
Scott,
trade,
Scott,
yeah.
Start that rant over. You got split up.
I got split up. That sounds
Yeah, you're
painful.
bleeping. You're bleeping.
Oh no.
You blooped.
You're cutting in and
The
out.
bloops.
You're cutting in and out. So that 56K modem got to upgrade.
I mean, it really just was designed to make it easier for capital to fuck over workers and to basically defang the American labor movement.
What are the specifics? Because I don't necessarily I always forget.
It removed barriers to trade and investment between the three countries. It was we're gonna cut down tariffs. We're gonna make it easier for employers to shift their operations across borders, which is the auto industry famously, for example, started moving all of their production to Mexico.
Yeah, basically it's all the shit that when Trump ran in 2016.
We're gonna bring back them jobs.
Yeah, it was
bring back the factory.
It was the impetus for a Trump presidency. Outsourcing all of our fucking labor as cheaply as we can get it, where we can get it.
And that was kind of proven, the anger about that was proven to be very much present, because Sanders and Trump both were ran very effectively on opposing NAFTA 4 years ago.
NAFTA also was the impetus for enormous amounts of laborers to migrate illegally into the U.S. from Mexico.
When countries like the United States outsource labor to places like Mexico, the workers, they don't own the means of production. And so
exactly.
They don't have the ability to push back against horrible working conditions. They don't have the ability to fight for living wages, and they don't get any of the benefits because all of that work that they do ends up just exporting the products back to the United States.
It's what happened in India with Gandhi.
What's curious though is actually Mexico got shafted by it.
It shafts the country.
No, because Mexico was hit really hard by a lot of job losses because of NAFTA. Because jobs, not only were jobs moving out of the United States, but jobs were also moving out of Mexico at the same time.
Well, and the United States is also sucking up part of the labor market.
Yeah, that was largely because, actually most of Mexico's job losses was, in the agricultural sector because, California, for example, was just taking advantage of, all of these migrant workers being put out of work, and all of these migrant workers were going to California to, go work in the agricultural sector, for under-the-table wages, basically.
Yep, and it's still that way today, and the town I grew up in would not have an economy without those workers.
Yeah, I think California has some crazy percentage of the farming industry in the U.S., over 90%.
Yeah, and it's not charming individual farms like in Massachusetts. It's big ag, Monsanto country.
Big ag.
Big ag.
I think it's nuts that they were able to push this through so effectively because in 2014, a study on the effects of NAFTA on U.S. jobs, U.S. lost 851,000 jobs because of NAFTA.
I would bet it's more than that.
Well, that was that's what a study from 2014 concluded. But hey, the Congressional Research Service a year later estimated that NAFTA caused U.S. GDP to increase by 0.5%. So I guess 800,000 jobs is totally worth it.
Again, GDP is the worst measure for progress.
I was saying from capital's perspective, it was worth it by that.
Yeah, man.
By that measurement.
I know. That's precisely my point.
The investors were happy.
That's another instance where it feels like an eerie echo of today because the investor class is absolutely over the fucking moon with the way these things are working in the stock market right now, whereas there's still 40 million Americans who don't have a job right now.
Something like that, yeah. Saw a figure that said 30, but
total number of unemployment claims since the beginning of the pandemic in the United States is 57 million, but not all of those people are still out of work. A lot of them have either been called back to work or being brought back for reduced pay.
It comes as no surprise to anybody that Amazon has been taking advantage of this seemingly more so than any other corporation. But at the beginning of the big spike in unemployment, on every fucking podcast I listened to that had paid advertising, there was an Amazon ad. And they weren't even that well produced.
Oh! Getting
What?
called out for your shitty production. Amazon ads. Fuck you.
They've been blasting the airwaves with TV ads, but look how great we are.
Seriously.
Motherfucker still watches TV. Wow.
Well,
He lives with his grandparents.
I live with old people, man.
Can't
Motherfuckers
avoid
still
it.
out here watching TV. I love it.
They love that boob tube. Old people.
Hey, they're both in like the mid-70s, so they're glued to it. I thought it was funny today. My grandmother actually complained that like Governor Baker had like apparently his daily coronavirus press conference interrupted one of her soap operas, and she was like, "Why the fuck does he have to be doing this right now?"
Your stories. You
Yes.
gotta watch your stories.
Actually, what she calls them.
Ay, Dios mío. Ba-da-boo-ba-doo-ba-doo.
Telenovelas. Yeah.
Relate though.
Maria, ¿por qué?
Jesus Christ.
And then the other two major shitty things Clinton did on domestic policy, or obviously the crime bill.
Very bad.
Yeah, and
3 strike. Very bad model.
Yeah, 3 strikes laws. It was passed by the Senate like 95-4. Originally, and
Insane government.
the House voted like 235 to 195. Even Bernie voted for it because his justification was like he was voting for the Violence Against Women Act and the
That fucking lib.
there was like the Violence Against Women's Act and also like a federal assault weapons ban.
This is a 94 crime bill, right?
Yeah.
The one that Biden was heavily involved in as well.
He actually wrote the Senate bill.
Yeah.
Who,
He
Bernie
wrote the
did?
Senate version.
No,
Biden.
Oh.
Biden wrote the Senate version of the bill.
That motherfucker. It's like what we said.
And he pushed it through.
Biden wrote the bill and Kamala fucking
Yeah.
enacted it.
You know who was really heavily lobbying for the crime bill?
Kamala Harris in the womb. I don't know how old she is. She's probably like...
The answer to my statement was actually the National Association of Police Organizations.
Wait, what? Say the name. National Organization of
The
Organizations?
National Association of Police Organizations.
Oh, I was hoping it was NOPA or NOPO or
Nope. Yeah, NOPO.
Napo.
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 NOPO.
Napo. Hey guys,
Yeah.
I'm gonna go have a little Napo.
The specifics of the bill, it provided for 100,000 new police officers across the United States, almost $10 billion in funding for prisons, $6.1 billion for violence prevention programs, which were designed with, quote, significant input from, quote unquote, experienced police officers. And
It's just a few bad apples.
other parts of the act
Fucking
included,
choking people out.
there was a federal assault weapons ban that expired in 2004, set to last 10 years, and it expired during the Bush administration. It also made immigration law much tougher, and it also required states to establish registries for sexual offenders, and it greatly expanded the death penalty at the time.
Wait a second. Greatly expanded the death penalty?
Yes.
You didn't have to be just kind of dead. You could be kind of dead, definitely dead,
Yeah.
or extra dead.
Super fried.
You be dead as shit.
Honestly, that kind of sounded more like George W. Bush than Bill Clinton.
Be
It's
dead as
fine.
shit.
Real prisoners dead.
If anybody cares, by the way, in 1994, Kamala Harris was 29 and 30, and she was a deputy DA in Alameda County, California. So
Yeah.
she very well could have supported,
She did
in
all
her
that
own
from
way.
the womb. She didn't
Correct.
come out for 30 years. Jesus.
I mean, actually, she probably did, because in 2002, when she ran for, like, I think it was like either San Francisco or LA County DA, she ran against a progressive, like a legit progressive, like, prosecutor, and her campaign was like predicated on the argument that he wasn't throwing enough people in jail,
And who wasn't?
like the incumbent that she was running against.
He sounds like good, I'm thinking she sounds like good presidential material,
Yeah, totally.
In a future sense.
Like, she is the president in waiting.
If there's ever been a good time to pick a fucking cop as a VP, like, now is
Yeah, I know.
definitely the time.
Again, another situation where, like, a lot of Democrats who are still in Congress voted for the crime bill. Among those, Nancy Pelosi voted for it. Steny
Name and
Hoyer
shame.
voted for it.
Fuck that fucking
Jim
bitch.
Clyburn voted for it. Joe Kennedy III's either his dad or his uncle voted for it. I can't remember.
Intake cloth wearing
One of those
bitch.
many
Nancy
Kennedys
Pelosi's a whore.
crawling out
That
of
can
the-
take. Oh Jesus!
Marty Meehan, who is now the president of the University of Massachusetts school system, voted for it.
He's probably a racist piece of shit. I don't know.
He represented the district at the time, the district that I currently live in. And then he stepped down from that congressional seat to go become the president of UMass.
What district is that?
At the time, it was the Massachusetts 7th. It's now the Massachusetts 3rd.
What's your address? I'm just.
Fuck off.
All right, continue. I'm sorry.
I'm looking through the roll call vote. Like, man, there are a lot of them. Rosa DeLauro, she's a chairwoman of, I think, Education and Labor in the House. She voted for it. The sad thing is like she's actually like one of the like less terrible Democrats at the House, and even she kind of sucks. So is that Jay Inslee voted for it? That's a surprise.
Inslee voted for the crowd. He's the world's on fire guy?
Yeah, he's the world on fire guy.
He screams the world's on fire at people all the time? It's just his hobby now?
In his defense, could have been a green prison with like solar panels.
Well, actually, Inslee's justification was he was voting for it because of the assault weapons ban.
Oh, was that a part of the bill?
Yeah.
I wonder what Marx would say about that.
It was a 10-year ban on assault
Marx
weapons
should
at
say,
the federal
fuck
level.
this shit. Fuck this Clinton bitch and slap him.
Also, Richard Neal voted for it. I just noticed that. I mean, Richard Neal's been on like the wrong side of basically everything.
Fuck this Richard Neal bitch.
Yeah, Richard Neal recently put out an ad. It's him completely lying about his role in the healthcare industry.
And I guess this is also the point where we should say that we're a pro Morse podcast at the moment. So
Officially pro Morse.
yes, to reply to the thing that what was said on episode 9.
We have Morse remorse.
It's a dialectic. It was an incorrect take the first time, we've learned. And it blew, and like actually I'm pretty impressed at how he came out better at the end of that. So hey.
Actually, I'm not entirely surprised because like a lot of these smear tactic kind of things lately have been kind of backfiring like tremendously lately. Like Alex Morris, that kind of blew up in his face. Elizabeth Warren, like trying to stab Bernie in the back, that blew up in her face.
Democrats are bad at
She's a snake, bro.
doing this shit all of a sudden. They don't got it the same way that the Republicans
Elizabeth
have it.
Warren.
Well, we could have had universal health care,
snake.
but snake emojis.
Yeah.
You know, I think it's like the perfect karma that like she stabbed the left in the back twice, and all she's gotten out of it is like most likely drawing up like a left-wing primary challenge in 4 years.
Wait, twice?
Well, yeah, I mean, like she refused to endorse Bernie in 2016 when she was basically seen as like the kingmaker of that primary, and she endorsed Hillary like the day after the California primary when the primary had already ended.
Oh fuck! Oh okay.
And then she made up the whole thing about, actually really 3 times when you think about it, because she like, the
It's a
second
little
time was
Lizzie
like,
come lately. I got it, yeah.
because like the second time was when she accused Bernie of being a sexist, and they asked him that question at the debate.
Alright.
Did you say that like a woman can never be a president? No. Senator Warren, why did he say this to you?
Yeah, fuck
And
that
then-
debate. Remember when that shit was happening? That was wild.
Yeah, it was right after like a DSA for Bernie subcommittee meeting, and I was at a bar, and I think actually it was the Middle East bar. It was some comrades, and I was like one of like several people like screaming at the TV.
I was there.
Yeah, that was an interesting night.
Did it scream back?
Yeah, dude, it was interactive television. It's like some Lillian Gibson shit. Some mid Cronenberg shit. It was great.
It's the future.
The chyrons from CNN that night were like fucking wild. Like,
Yeah, it was.
how do you propose
Wild
to pay?
chyrons.
They were like Senator Sanders. How do you propose to pay for the healthcare plan that's going to bankrupt America and shit like that?
Was that the Jake Tapper? Were those Tapper's question?
Yeah, it was like
Yeah.
oh, Senator Sanders, why do you want the Boston bomber to be able to
That
vote?
piece of shit. Jake Tapper,
Yeah,
suck a dick.
And then I remember
Suck
Bernie was
me.
basically like, "Shut the
We're
fuck up."
vulgar tonight.
We're extremely vulgar and
Jake
misogynist.
Tapper can suck my dick.
It's appropriate I'm only keeping my mouth shut because President Clinton is here, and if he says something that is chauvinist and horrible, at least it's him and not any of you guys saying it.
I remember that was kind of funny. Like Jake Tapper is asking these questions, and Bernie would be like, "Jake, shut the fuck up."
Jake,
And then-
shut the fuck up.
I'm gonna need a source on that one.
Well, he didn't explicitly say that, but he's
Quote
like grumpy.
Senator Sanders.
But like it was like in his,
Jake,
he's like
I'm gonna need you to shut the fuck up.
he
Thank
didn't
you
like
very much.
explicitly say that, but
the
he's like,
Bernie
dude.
we'll never get, but we
Yeah,
all wish we
okay.
had.
Good.
He didn't explicitly say
Yeah,
it, but he was
good.
like, dude, stop with the talking points from like the Heritage Foundation.
Wow, God. The guy who said, I just want to talk to you, Bernie. Who is that? I forget his name.
That was Tom Steyer.
Okay, I already forget everybody's name.
My favorite was like how he dropped out of the race because he was trying he backed that ass up so hard.
Yeah, I just
Pulled
remember
his
that
balls.
video of him dancing to back that ass up. I woke up the other day thinking about that video.
Oof.
That's how broken my brain is, everyone. What was the last bad thing that Clinton did? I mean, probably not, like,
Well,
not the last bad. You know what I mean.
Well, the last major, well, actually, there are two others. One of them I don't know as much about because I don't know that much about derivatives because I'm not a financial trader. But yeah, the last major thing was the Telecommunications Act of 1996, and that basically completely deregulated the telecom industry, and which is why we only have like 4 internet providers left because
Yeah.
almost immediately
We have
after.
4?
Well, what is it like? Verizon,
I thought it was just
T-Mobile.
Comcast. And
Yeah,
that's
we
it.
only have like
AT&T,
RCN and Comcast. That's it.
Well, actually, I was gonna get to that.
What's this
Sorry.
for, you speak of, sir?
Well, like, this is why we only have like 4 phone providers, and we only have like a couple like internet providers in the country.
The phone providers have merged. Like T-Mobile and Sprint are the same now.
You guys keep like jumping the gun like right before I'm about to say it.
To make the
Sorry,
point that
Joe.
Clinton wrote the bill to let those things happen.
Almost immediately after the telecom act passed, all of the telecom companies like went on a merger orgy. Basically, every shitty person voted for it. Like both Massachusetts senators voted for it in the Senate. It passed the House like 414 to 16, and it was signed into law February 8th, 1996. It basically deregulated everything.
So he ran like really hard to the right.
Yeah, he went like super hard to the right because it's insane because like he ran in 92 like running on universal health care, and then in like 96 he's like, I'm gonna deregulate everything, and look at how well I can stick it to the poor people.
Yeah, somehow Trump is running to both sides of Biden. Both sides.
I mean, I don't think Biden seems to be aware of what's going on, if I'm completely honest. Like, does he really seem to be aware of what's going on?
No, but I think the plan is to usher Kamala in when he gets hit with the get really old and die gun.
But like one of the really big impacts of the Telecom Act is like the way basically the internet providers have basically like come together to like act more or less as a cartel to carve up like parts of the country so that like it's kind of like gerrymandering that fucks over white people because you have like Comcast will like
Oh boy.
carve out like a part of like a state, and like Verizon and like the other internet providers won't really like try to venture into that specific area, and then like AT&T will carve out like a different part of the state, and there won't be really any competition there either, and then Verizon will carve out like a part of an area as well, and it's kind of like almost like how the health insurance exchanges are working on Obamacare, where like the insurers are only offering coverage in places that can turn a profit.
Well, I mean, one of the things that I learned in Econ 101, which is it's such a garbage class because there's so much ideology baked into it, but like you learn about the oligopoly, and that's how in the tech industry in particular, like it's a handful of companies that are basically they're telling each other in advance how much they're going to raise prices, and they're not actually competing with each other. They have to pretend to compete with each other to a degree that somebody can show up like in Congress and make a nice graph and say like, see?
Yeah, they're in competition just enough to make it look like just enough to fend off any like antitrust lawsuits.
Yes.
But that's like to the degree that they will actually bother to compete because like capitalism it's kind of hilariously ironic like how much like libertarians and like the like fanatical free marketeers always talking about how much they'd love to see competition in the market, when like capitalism almost always inevitably results in like concentration and monopoly.
Well, and also Keynesian economics is contingent upon a central government basically subsidizing the oligopoly.
I was just looking for something real quick because I can't remember which country it was that like Hillary demanded that Bill Clinton bomb in order to like get out of the doghouse right after Monica Lewinsky scandal broke out.
Oh yeah, some wag the dog shit.
Because like right after the Lewinsky scandal broke out, Hillary was apparently refusing to talk to Bill Clinton until like he started bombing like a country in like Eastern Europe. I think it was Kosovo.
That is the most fucking unhealthy relationship dynamic I have ever heard.
I'm gonna blow up country now.
Silent treatment until you bomb the Middle East or some shit.
Queen.
Jesus Christ.
It was either Kosovo or
shit.
Serbia. And so, like, a week later, like, the United States started bombing, like, I think it was either Serbia or Kosovo.
What a fucking cuck.
What a fuck. Yeah. It'll blow up a bunch of innocent people.
What a cuck and fuck.
You know, it's really nuts how, like, liberals, like, talk about the foreign policy of the Clinton administration. Because, like, oh, he was a peacetime president. No, he spent most of the country, like, bombing the shit out of tiny countries.
Yep.
Yeah. He was cucking the fucks and fucking the cucks.
Tell me, Elizabeth, how exactly does one cuck a fuck?
Like, I honestly think that, like, Clinton bombed more countries than Obama did.
Obama bomb.
I mean, Obama bombed like 7 countries.
He just bombed the same 2 countries many times, right? Whereas, I mean, Clinton was bombing one country that then became a whole bunch of countries, and then he was bombing all of those, right?
He bombed a bunch of countries. Well, Obama was only Obama bombed 7 countries during his 8 years in office, but he like bombed the shit out of them like almost nonstop.
Whoa!
Whereas Clinton bombed like several countries, but like, or it's like Clinton bombed like several tiny countries, but like for like a much shorter period of time.
I'm just double checking this because it would be hilarious if we asserted this and then turned out to be wrong.
Given the size of the countries, though, was the proportional damage the same?
Yes, this is worth litigating.
Clinton bombed like Yugoslavia, but Yugoslavia broke up into several countries. He bombed Bosnia. He bombed Kosovo. He bombed where else dropped bombs on?
He bombed Zizek so hard that he fucking landed in the United States. Or no.
Yeah.
Where is Zizek? Where is he now?
He's from Yugoslavia.
Yeah, but where is he
Is he now? I don't know.
Slovenia.
He's in the trash can.
Ideology.
Ideology.
Also, he did PNTR with China that Bernie's always like screaming at Biden about during the debates.
PNTR?
Permanent normal trade relations.
NTR.
And that shipped like 350,000 American jobs overseas. So he did multiple shitty trade deals.
Shit, you guys. It looks like Clinton only did actual bombing of Serbia and Iraq, which is way fewer than 7.
But he was bombing Iraq like near constantly, I think.
He bombed
Because,
it a lot, but that's not the particular stupid detail that we're litigating right now. So anyway.
The bombing of Iraq was like a project of American empire that spanned multiple administrations, and like the idea was basically to try to foment like accelerationism in the sense of like we're gonna make life so shitty for the average Iraqi that the logic was that like we're gonna make life so shitty for the average Iraqi that they're gonna like overthrow the government. But what actually ended up happening is they made life so shitty that people were like more like focused on like basic survival and didn't really have the energy or the effort to like, you know, even consider that because like they're more focused on trying not to die. Like the U.S.
I
imposed.
had to. Hillary said she wouldn't talk to me until I bombed the Arabs.
Like the Clinton
Bill, how could
administration
you?
imposed sanctions on Iraq that prevented penicillin from being imported into the country.
That's some evil shit. Some apocalypse now evil shit.
It also caused a cholera outbreak because we were banning the import of like basic like drugs.
Cholera. Looks like in 93, to your earlier point about Iraq, we were doing cruise missile attacks on Baghdad in retaliation for an assassination attempt on George H.W. Bush.
Hell yeah.
That's news to me.
Am I allowed to say that's a bummer they failed?
Gotta avenge our kings.
Yeah.
I mean, I was complaining earlier this afternoon that Henry Kissinger is still alive, so
See, a billion?
he's like 96 or something like that. He's
Oh my God.
pretty up there. I'm
96 billion?
He's 97.
Oh fuck.
Christ.
Just
See,
like
exactly. Like,
Pablo.
why hasn't he like? It doesn't necessarily have to be anything like absurd. Just like he can go in his sleep. I just find it annoying that he continues like to be here.
I don't know, Joe. There are things worse than death, and he could face any and all of them before he dies, if it would make you
Right.
happy.
I would actually.
That's not going to happen.
What year did he withhold penicillin?
I think it was 93.
Well, 4 years later, he apologized for the Tuskegee experiments.
At least he apologized.
It's been long enough.
So, yeah, I would say that he's that covers him on that. You know, he's off the hook.
Good
Say he
guy.
was sorry.
Almost forgot the American well, how I don't know how I almost forgot, but like our meddling and basically destruction of post-Soviet Russia in the 1990s, and how like the United States basically in a very crude and caustic way like reformed Russia into like our own image, if you will. We interfered with their with the 1996 Russian election, and it was so blatant that it was in the summer of 1996 it was literally on the front page of Time magazine because the Clinton administration did not want the Communist Party to win the 1996 election, and so they basically interfered with the election to ensure that Boris Yeltsin, the alcoholic incumbent president of Russia, would
Yeah.
in fact succeed. And Yeltsin narrowly won re-election in 96.
Yep. So, to all the people who are Russian phobic about them interfering in our election, we've done it before.
I mean, it's karma, really. I mean, we fucked them over in 96, and then it came around to bite the United States in the ass 20 years later. To the extent that Russia even interfered with the 2016 election, because Cambridge Analytica had a much greater impact on the general election outcome than any potential Russian interference might have had. But to acknowledge Cambridge Analytica's role in the election results would require that would be a crisis of capitalism, and in order to reckon with that, you would have to reckon with capitalism itself, so that's not going to happen, and it didn't happen.
You'd have to like rewrite the entire 2017. Rachel
2017.
Rachel
because,
Maddow would have to get some new writers.
Yep. I mean, she's still going on about that, I think, probably. I don't know. I stopped watching cable news years ago.
About Russia?
Slovakia.
Still going on about Russia?
Probably. I mean, one is like a story no longer being relevant ever stopped MSNBC from being a dead horse for the sake of ratings.
Not Rachel.
Also, like
Move on.
the boomers are like have this like obsessive like I don't know rage towards Russia because like from decades of propaganda like programming about like how evil the Soviet Union is.
Yeah, I've had a surprising number of people come up to me and say, "Oh, you were right. Russia isn't communist, it turns out."
They just walk up to you?
Hey, Jesse.
At work, yeah, because I'm always wearing I always have the sickle and hammer mask when I come in.
I wish I was allowed to get away with that. Even though I did come into the office on a day off once when I had to fill some shit out, and I was wearing like a DSA for Bernie shirt, and it like scared the shit out of my boss.
Which boss do you have scared of the DSA?
Well, all of my
Thanks for
coworkers
all
are
Antifa.
all of my coworkers are Republicans.
I'm scared of the Antifa.
Yeah.
Anyways, all right, fine. Sure.
Actually, I had a coworker ask me once if I was like a member of Antifa.
Yeah, we're an organized group. We have cards.
Can you imagine being scared of fucking Jews?
We're laughing because we're so scared that we
I
can't.
don't think there's anything else we can say on that topic, literally. That's okay to say.
Yeah.
Would you say that Clinton has established, like his administration kind of established a lot of the aesthetics and trends that we now see in politics?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like
Where it
I mean,
began.
like Clinton administration was like really like an escalation of like Reagan of like what the work Reagan had started in the early 80s, like breaking up the PATCO strike, being the first president to invoke Taft-Hartley, cutting the top marginal tax rate in half. Reagan wasn't able to get as much done as Clinton was because like Democrats controlled the House that entire decade. So there was an extent to which Democrats could put their foot down and be like, we're not quite ready to screw over workers that hard yet. And then there was a rightward shift in like the mid 90s with the 94 election, with Clinton wanting to seem like he was tough on crime and wanting to stick it to poor people. But it was also, like the overall aesthetics of the 90s was there's a radical shift to the right, in which the Democrats became like the new Democrats, who were like pro-growth, as it's referred to. Which basically means just pro letting capital walk all over the proletariat. Or we need to deregulate everything, deregulate the fuck out of everything. And a lot of the deregulations that like the Clinton administration carried out eventually led to the 2008 subprime mortgage crash. In fact, actually, the Clinton administration in I think it was 98 or 99, made reforms to the Community Reinvestment Act, which basically opened the floodgates for lenders to start offering subprime mortgages to lower income first-time homeowners. This flooded the market with subprime mortgages. And about 10 years later, the chickens came home to roost and the whole thing crashed. And also the banks were collapsing in 2008 because the firewall between commercial and investment financial institutions had been ripped down in 1999 by the Clinton administration. And the only thing that prevented a bank run, the likes of which hadn't been seen since the Great Depression, was massive government intervention. The Clinton administration definitely set the tone for the next decade, because the Bush administration was an escalation of what had taken place in that administration. The Obama administration was basically the sanitization and the normalization of every shitty thing that the Bush administration had done.
Yeah, it's a process of capital.
And the Trump administration has been an escalation of what Obama started, like the Children in Cages program that was begun under the Obama administration in 2014, 1 year into Obama's second term, for example. The drone program was the Bush administration carried out, I think, 65 drone strikes during their 8 years in office. And the Obama administration carried out thousands of drone strikes, dramatically increasing the scale and scope of the drone program. And all you really have to do is Google the phrase Obama Yemen wedding. All you need to do.
Also, I'm going to plug Thought Slime. He made a dank-ass video on Obama's presidency.
His newest video. It was rather good.
Between 2009 and 2015, the Obama administration carried out 473 drone strikes. During the entire Bush administration, there were 65 drone strikes.
Wow.
Or actually 51 drone strikes under the Bush administration.
That eternal return. See, it's a cycle. It's a pattern. It keeps happening. Everything.
There are these concentric circles of history repeating itself, just various iterations of splitting the working class into different sects that have different social values and ways of splitting the vote such that it always ends up being this horrid duopoly. It's not even two wings. It's two. I forgot what I was talking about. Bindi is giving me kisses, and
it's
I'm just
basically
in the fucking moment right now.
I mean, they're really the same party, but one is going to kill you with a smile.
Kill it with a smile.
The GOP is going to be
the same
upfront.
corridor, basically.
The GOP is going to be upfront about how evil they are, but the Democrats are going to still be that evil, or mildly less evil, but pretend to be something else.
Right. It's will you help poor people? GOP? No. Democrats? No. With the pride flag.
Yeah.
Well, sort of. It's maybe
half of the prison guards should be women.
Yeah.
There's... Yeah, Lori Penny always said the problem is not that there are not enough women in boardrooms, it's that there's too many boardrooms and not enough of them are on fire.
Yep.
there aren't enough trans women of color bombing
down boardrooms.
Right.
Yeah. And arresting people. Fucking shoving them into prisons that are overcrowded and overheated and undersourced.
We need diverse fascism. That's
We need diverse death from the skies. We can't just have predator drones. We need to have like a female version of the predator drone.
A nice pink drone, yeah.
the predator droness, if you will.
Look,
Yes.
we were thinking we could invest in this drone or healthcare, but like it's already here and it's pink, so.
Yeah. Also, Obama, fun fact, actually set the precedent. He was the first American president to actually kill American citizens overseas with a drone strike. On September 30th, 2011, U.S. Air Force drones killed U.S.-born Anwar al-Awlaki in Yemen.
So, was that the kid?
He was 40. Actually,
Okay, and then they killed his kid.
Yeah,
they
he
killed
did.
his 16-year-old son like a year
Yeah.
later.
Oh yeah.
His actually the 16-year-old son was killed 2 weeks later.
Oh, never mind. Jesus.
Congratulations.
And Al-Awaki's 8-year-old daughter was also killed by a U.S. commando attack in Yemen on January 29, 2017.
Holy shit.
About a week after
Yeah.
Trump took office.
Cool.
And that was also ordered by Obama.
Well, actually,
Or no, it was arranged by Obama, but then Trump ordered it because he was like, "Oh, I'm gonna do what he couldn't do and kill the rest of this family."
Seriously.
Actually, I would say it's more like how Eisenhower arranged and set up the Bay of Pigs invasion, but like he handed Kennedy the bag and then was like, "Well, it's already too late to stop this, so like you might as well just say yes."
Government.
Yeah, and how'd that turn out?
I mean, it turned out hilariously for the Cubans because they got to like be like, "Look, America tried to like overthrow our government again, and like we owned them."
Yeah, dude.
Putin's those nudes.
Big dick energy.
Like, I still can never get over the fact that, like, the CIA tried to kill Fidel Castro over 900 times and they failed every single time.
They put, like, pills in his shoes and shit. It was ridiculous.
Exploding cigars. That was
like some
actually a
Austin
plan.
Powers
Yeah,
shit.
the exploding cigar is like absolutely cartoonish, but very much actually happened.
Which is why I love that, like, Fidel Castro dying at the age of 90 is, like, the ultimate middle finger to the CIA.
Please read your history on MK Ultra. That's all I'm saying.
He died at the age of 90 of natural causes, despite the fact the CIA tried to kill him over 900 times.
This one I don't understand though. There was a plan to make Castro's beard hair fall out.
Yeah.
I guess that would like
They were
lessen his
okay.
legitimacy.
Demoralize him.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Yeah.
no, it's not,
I am nothing without my hair.
That was the one where they were lining his hat with this like chemical that they were hoping that would make his beard hair fall out.
Yeah, I have no idea what was the idea behind that. Like,
Dude, this is the guy that would fucking go all around the world without any bulletproof vest or any protection. Like
I can understand like the absurdity of like exploding cigars, but like because like that like it's a cohesive plan. Like we're gonna use this to blow him up, but like getting his hair to fall out, like what does that achieve?
You know,
He tried so
how
hard.
communism works. The longer the beard, the more power you have.
right.
Yeah.
That was
Exactly.
that was in Das Kapital.
Just ask that Cuban guy who was talking last night. The bitter pill of communism: free healthcare, free jobs, free education, defund the
fucking
police.
huge
No,
beards.
these are false promises.
Giant beards
A
everywhere.
guaranteed meal every night. Wait, what? Oh, sounds nice.
Reducing illiteracy by like 95%.
We should just do a whole episode on all the ways that the U.S. tried to assassinate Castro.
I'd be down for that.
I think that's in the episode ideas.
Oh,
Sweet.
probably. It should be.
Soon, yeah.
Like Cuba has a 100% literacy rate. United States is like 84% or 86%.
Did you see the tweet from that guy that was like, my dad was Cuban and he never learned to read so that he couldn't be propagandized by the
Actually,
communists?
I had to read and discuss an article in a sociology class last year, and it was like one of those articles, and I kept on like shitting on it at every possible turn to the point where my sociology professor was like, "Man, you really hate this article, don't you?" And it's like, yeah, like, oh, the horrors. They gave us free education. They gave us free childcare and a social worker to help us. They taught everybody to read, even though nobody could, like, the literacy rate was like 30% before this. Oh, the horrors. They gave us free education. When will it stop?
They deported all the slave masters.
Yeah, exactly. And my professor was like, yeah, that's a good point. Because I was also like, well, any Cuban person who was like allowed to like write in the op-ed pages of like the New York Times is like probably like a landowner who's like pissed that like they were that their property was seized by the state to like house the homeless or some shit.
Right. It's the same group of people that is suing Massachusetts right now because fucking they can't extract every penny from their tenants.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's literally those same people, but like, oh yeah, if it's a Cuban person in the New York Times op-ed page, it's probably like a landowner. In the same way that like the landlords in Massachusetts are like flipping their shit that they can't evict their tenants in the middle of an airborne pandemic.
I mean, I don't want to paint like American Cubans with a broad brush, but a lot of the Cubans that fled to America to write angry like editorials about Cuba probably fucking pretty bougie.
Yeah.
Like, who complains about, like, only, like, incredibly wealthy people complain about the concept of, like, free healthcare for everybody. Because they're the ones having to pay for it. Because everything comes down to profits at the end of the day in a capitalist system, to the exclusion of literally everything else.
It's all sexual desire. Satisfied by greed.
When did this turn into, like, a discussion about Freud?
That's what neoliberalism is. It's a libidinal economy. It's the sex drive as the main urge.
I mean, that was like Freud
turned into greed.
It's penis envy.
Penis turned into greed.
Penis greed.
What was
the
it?
Orgasm
What was it
turned into greed. I don't know how else to say it.
What was it that you said last night about like you need to build a bigger table in the chat last night?
What was that me?
Oh, what I said?
Jesse. Yeah.
We're all here.
I don't know. Most of it, I was having like an argument like in my head, in which somebody slaps their giant dick down on a table.
Yeah. Plop or whatever. I forget.
No, plonk.
Plonk, yes.
In
Plonk.
bold letters.
I was exhausted. I don't remember what we were talking about at all.
I thought you were like about to fall asleep when you said that.
Meanwhile, me and Scott were like subjecting ourselves.
It was like a third
RNC.
party. You were saying that a third party.
Oh yeah.
Was gonna plop its giant dick on the table. I don't have enough female friends. In DSA.
Oh.
That's not true.
As I said, I mean, next week I do plan on giving the Sankar a primer, and that dude had just average guy dick energy. Like, fucking...
He did a revolution. Anyway.
I know, but he was humble about it, dude. He was humble. He had
revolution dick energy.
He had normal dick energy, and
I don't know. Can you play the guitar and have normal dick energy?
Okay. Can we give the context for this? That you have some weird thing.
I play the guitar, and I have normal, if not slightly below average dick energy. Okay.
I'll take your word for that.
Too much big dick energy.
No
stimulation
needed.
Correct? Jesse, the too much big dick energy in your eyes is a bad thing?
Yes.
All right.
Because you need to spread the wealth.
No, because if your dick is too long, then you trip on it.
Metaphorically speaking, Scott.
If you're swinging that cock around like a fire hose, you're gonna break a window or something.
And that's not good for communism.
Yeah, that's bad. It's
bad
bad
for
to,
communism.
Yeah.
And you don't want to do that. It's bad for communism.
I'm still looking up like the exact number of times that they tried to kill Castro.
It was the same assassins that they sent after him 900 times.
I mean, there's a whole Wikipedia article.
They became very acquainted with their failed mission and themselves.
Several hundred. Yeah, they don't really tell you, do they? Too bad. 638 Ways to Kill Castro is a documentary film which only talks about some of the ways that they tried to kill him.
I remember
Shit.
Because I remember the New York Times had an article in 2016 about like how they tried like 900 times.
A radio station rigged with gaseous LSD.
Invincible boy, God.
A poison syringe posing as an innocuous fountain pen. Damn. Yeah, his bodyguard must have had, like, the most stressful job. All I'm getting is over 600, which I guess is 638, which is less than 900, but it's still a very impressive number.
Oh, I got the 900 number.
I mean, a 6 is a 9 upside down, so maybe that was part of it.
I mean, I could have sworn I saw a Times article like 4 years ago about that, but like that 4 years ago feels like 3,000 years ago, so it's also that.
What were you going to say, Jesse?
I don't know.
Okay.
Seize the means of production.
See, what the proletariat needs to do is they need to unite and become the party to dismantle the Democrats and Republicans and put pressure on the capitalist system and take it over.
Yes.
To enact communism. That's how we do it. Castro once said in regards to the numerous attempts on his life, if surviving assassination attempts were an Olympic event, I would win the gold medal.
Yeah.
Yes.
Just wanted to add that.
That is accurate.
I'm looking at a Guardian article right now from November 26, 2016, and the article headline is Close But No Cigar, How America Failed to Kill Fidel Castro. From poison pills to exploding mollusks, the CIA and its allies tried everything to take out the Cuban leader.
Guess who tried the most times?
Who?
Guess. What the fuck?
I assume the CIA?
Yeah, but no, under what president was there the most attempts, I should say, sorry.
Nixon.
I want to say Lyndon Johnson.
It was Nick. No, wait, it wasn't. It was Reagan.
Nixon was number 2, though.
Yeah.
Reagan with 197, Nixon with 184.
Who was third?
Johnson, yeah.
LBJ.
How
And then Carter.
How many times did the
LBJ is
Johnson
a
administration
fucking...
try?
He's a mixed bag, yo.
LBJ was 72 times. 72 times. Jesus Christ.
LBJ was a fucking weird dude, but he sure knew how
Had a
he liked his
huge
trousers.
dick, apparently.
Yeah, he had to. Have you heard that recording of him telling talking to the guy who was making his pants?
Yeah, he's
on
like,
the phone.
I need like, what it was like, I need X amount of inches because like I got a big dick.
See, that's a perfect example of when big dick energy gets you into trouble. Like,
Yeah.
fucking
Well, also,
look,
he was like
look
tall
at the
as fuck.
Vietnam bungle. That was just big dick energy on display.
Too much PDA.
Oh,
And he ended up
God.
Wasn't
trying
he
to
like
kill Castro.
6'10"?
Yeah, he's a big boy.
Was he? Hold on.
Yeah, he was like freakishly tall.
Freakishly tall. In every...
6'4". He was 6'4". That's pretty tall.
How tall is Trump? Isn't Trump, like, taller?
Six foot.
Trump is 6'3".
Oh, he's 6'3".
That's great.
I don't think he actually is. He wears lifts in his shoes. That's why he stands weird.
And I'm sure he's righteously anal about controlling information about how tall he is.
I mean, he did make a big deal about like the size of his hands during his first run for president. So.
Oh, God, don't even.
Yeah.
Look at these hands. Big, beautiful hands.
Yeah, I mean, Lyndon Johnson really was like a mixed bag because like he did a bunch of great things on domestic policy, and then like almost all of the good that came out of that was canceled out by like Vietnam.
Yep.
And the most depressing thing is he's like the best president we've had since like FDR,
Yep.
and like he did Vietnam.
He was racist in the same way as FDR, though. Like,
Yeah.
he was like a labor president, but he was very much like a white working class savior kind of a guy.
Well, I mean, he was of the white working class originally.
You're wondering why, like, the future that was promised in the 60s never came? It's because of Vietnam and
Yep.
the cost. So,
Well, it's because he sacrificed the Great Society for Vietnam.
yep.
Mm-hmm.
I maybe I should do a deep dive on Ho Chi Minh, because that motherfucker is interesting.
Absolutely. I mean, also like the French Communist Party, man, they spread the influence far and wide because Ho Chi Minh was actually became a member of the French Communist Party when he was studying in college, right around the time of the October Revolution, and then he went back to what was then French Indochina to spread the ideas that he learned from the French communists.
Those French communists, you gotta love them.
Well, also because France was
Wait.
France was colonizing like
Everywhere.
in all of Africa, like
Yes.
all of
Flip
the revolutionaries in Africa basically had to speak French if they wanted to communicate with other world leaders and other members of the Communist Party.
There were really like at that point in the 20th century, there were really like four players in Africa in terms of colonial powers. It was like France had mostly control of like Northwest Africa. Egypt and like most of like Eastern and Southern Africa were controlled by the British. The Germans had some holdings in like Southeastern Africa, and then the Belgians had that like massive colony where they committed like brutal genocidal like purges in Central Africa.
Mhm.
That's really it.
Yeah, fuck them.
Yeah, fun fact, the Belgian also, they had control of Australia before England, so.
They did, and they sold it off.
Yep. Do you see the social relationship between things, people, and the imperial powers, and how nothing fucking changes if we let these powers persist and we keep these conditions the way they are? Fucking see?
I mean, arguably the situation in Africa hasn't really changed
Your witness
because
to a
it
great
is
becoming.
between like the mid 60s and now, the other thing that's really shifted is the sphere of influence and like hegemony, like European hegemony, has shifted from being that of a colonial sphere of influence and domination to a economic and financial domination and hegemony. They've replaced the bayonet with the IMF.
Yeah, actually, next week that will be like a central point of focus.
Because God knows the IMF, well, with the exception of Lebanon, the IMF has never passed up the opportunity to screw over a small country.
The IMF is sus as fuck.
Actually, let me clarify on what I just said. Next week in the episode, it will be a point of focus. I don't think in the real life, people are gonna.
You're not trying to.
All right, everybody who's listening to this next week, you are required to just care about the IMF.
Yeah.
It's IMF week, y'all.
So are we going to also talk about the World Bank's influence, or are we just sticking to the IMF, European only?
What is the difference? I'm a dummy.
The World Bank is usually controlled by an American appointee, and the IMF is usually appointed by a
USA.
European.
Oh. So the spirit of imperialism and exploitation is still there. Okay.
It's alive and well, absolutely.
Mm.
It's just it's economic imperialism rather than like actual colonialism.
Motherfucker.
Even though the Chinese are starting to make inroads into Africa by like they're coming in and they're paying for and bringing a lot of Chinese labor to like pave roads and do all these infrastructure programs, and they're trying to create their own sphere of influence within Africa. And their pitch is basically to all of these African countries: we never colonized you, so like give us a chance. That's literally like explicitly the pitch the Chinese have been making for like the last 3 or 4 years is like, we've never colonized you, they have, so like give us like do business with us because we've never been your colonizers.
Not yet, anyway.
Yes, we're gonna colonize you like through like an economic form of imperialism, like financial imperialism, but like
It's
we
way
won't
better.
actually have like boots on your neck.
Don't you have anything to say? Anything else to say about Mr. Clinton? Great Mr. President.
He really hasn't aged well. Like,
No, he's not. He was not looking good at that DNC.
he wasn't looking good 4 years ago.
Yeah.
I mean, I still
I'm as
remember.
strong as an ox.
I remember 4 years ago he got into a verbal altercation with a Black Lives Matter activist on a campaign stop in I think it was like Philadelphia. Basically told like a black activist to shut the fuck up.
I remember that. It's good time.
Because there were like some activists who showed up to decry like Hillary's like super predator comments, and Bill was basically like, shut up.
Yeah, he said you people.
Yeah, you people.
You people.
You people don't understand what we were doing.
You people.
And the entire structure of the fucking crime bill was like in place already.
Yeah.
Fuck Bill.
But then they had to like go mask off with Hillary being like, these black children in the inner cities, they are
Yeah.
sociopathic super predators who must be brought to heel.
That was a Reaganite talking point.
Well, that's because they were kind of Reaganites.
Yeah. And invented in the era of crack, which was a fortunate break for the Reagans that like this new drug suddenly arrived.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
but,
it just happened
the
by
disparity
fucking
sentencing.
accident.
All right. Everything's psyop.
It
Actually,
is.
no, I
It
kind of
was.
believe.
That's like a conspiracy worth believing in.
Wait, which drug?
I know that the CIA helped traffic in cocaine.
Oh,
Yeah, they
well,
did.
I don't know if they did, but yeah, I mean that was the actual Nixonite
But, like,
a thing. They
No, I mean, like,
deliberately
they-
did that.
The
That was
Reagan
part of
was,
the,
That was just a policy choice.
Hmm.
that was part of like the dirty wars in Latin America.
but the Reagan drug policy coming right in time for this sudden explosion in this new drug called crack. Like, ooh,
Like the CIA was actually airlifting heroin into LA over the border in like the late 80s and into the 90s.
yeah, that was Air America.
No, that was
I think Air America is the name of Sam Cedar's old show.
actually Air America
And they were-
was, yeah, that was the like Sam Cedar's original network. Like
That was the
2004.
airline that they were using, though. It was called Air America.
Oh yeah.
Jesus Christ, there's a movie about it.
Well, Mr. fucking Movie Pants.
And Sam Cedar was the pilot. You're right. But you're right. Sam Cedar, he flew the planes.
That's the thing we're gonna remember. Okay.
I think that's it.
Got
That's
it.
it. That's all of it.
All right, you fucks. Okay, I'm just.
You enlightened motherfuckers.
You enlightened motherfuckers.
How many beers have you had, Scott?
I've had none. I'm just tired. I worked out for the first time in many months.
Oh, right.
Many moons. All right, so my name's Scott.
Better than me. I haven't done that in years.
We should all make commitments to take care of ourselves better, everyone. Please, out there listening.
Not
we're
just
trying.
your physical health, but your mental health as well.
Yes, it's just as important.
That's much easier to maintain than the physical health.
No, it isn't.
What the fuck?
I disagree. I don't know what fucking
It's much easier to
planet
go
you're
for
living on.
it's much easier to get on a bike than it is to get over anyway. Whatever.
It is. Well, it's harder when you have hip problems and back
True.
problems.
True. Okay.
True.
So Joe always ends these episodes on a pretty down note, which is
At least I am consistent. Say what you will, but I am consistent.
I'm always a little surprised.
Scott, do you want to plug that cat
Little
that
nonplus.
you look at on
Let's
YouTube
do.
all the time?
No,
You
it's
don't
my
plug
cat.
that cat? Oh,
I don't even
okay.
know because I don't know the cat's fucking name.
Cat's name is Hosiko Cat.
Okay, well there you go.
There you go.
Watch that cat. My name is
Good cat.
Scott. That was me. I'm telling you, I'm recommending that cat. Ellie, you should go next. Let's change it up. Fuck you.
I don't even know
Joe.
what cat we're talking about.
I'm Ellie, and this is the place where you can. Don't follow me. Don't follow me on stuff. Just listen to me here. That's all.
Joseph.
Joe, you call me that.
Oh, fuck you. Just talk.
I'm Joe. You can find me on the internet. Shouldn't be that hard.
And
Yes.
Someone's gonna call you Jessold.
Yes.
What the fuck?
Justinson.
I apologize.
I'm Jesselson. Yeah. I'm Jesse, and you can find me on SoundCloud at soundcloud.com/contingentsboston. And please remember to visit comrade-rosie.org for mental health and substance use disorder treatment resources in the greater Boston area.
Also, be sure to give the podcast a like and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.
The places you can find that podcast would be, well, you can find us on Twitter, you can find us on Instagram, you can find us on Patreon, all at Epoch Incredulity. You can find us on YouTube at the Epoch of Incredulity. We also have a Facebook. Did I say that already? I don't know. And we're doing fun things. You can follow us there. Anyways, that's your Epoch for the week. Enjoy your fucking week, you enlightened fucks.
Please try to survive. Please try to endure the Republican convention. Try to avoid watching it if possible.
Endure your epoch.
It is only for the very mentally fit, people who can handle it.
Crafty and horror. All right, that's it. Enjoy your Epoch.
Epoch.
Stop recording.
This
Hit it, Craig. Did you get all that, Craig?
It does.
I hope so.
Ellie's profile picture does kind of. I could go either way. It could be either an owl or a robot having sex with a crab.
Fucking Chicago Bull symbol.